Hello there, this is Jedi Master Daniel 96, and in today's video, I will be reviewing Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and I did bring an Indy hat for this review. So let's get started. This is the third Indiana Jones movie, and the third one released, and the majority of this film takes place in 1938, so a majority of this film takes place 2 years after Raiders of the Lost Ark and 3 years after the Temple of Doom. Like in the Indy timeline, with the prologue of this movie, you go into the past in 1912 to learn a bit about Indiana Jones' backstory. So yes, you do get a glimpse of his backstory. And one thing I kind of found interesting, because you do get the backstory, a little bit of backstory of Indy in this movie. Then, like, kind of after this movie came out, like in the 90s, you did get the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. And then, so it looks like George Lucas was onto something about exploring backstories, because you do get, as I said, Indy's backstory here, then the Young Indiana Jones TV series in the 90s, and then he went to do the Star Wars prequels to get the backstory of Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader. So George Lucas was probably onto something there, so kind of something to think about. So that's kind of one thing that kind of crossed my mind on that, So, I mean, that's just me thinking that. So yeah, with learning Indy's backstory, you kind of have him as a Boy Scout. He gets the Cross of Coronel. Then these other archaeologists chase after him, and then I just love this chase sequence in this movie with the prologue, and then, you do go to the house and you meet Indiana Jones's father, and we will meet his father later on in this movie as well, so who's played by Sean Connery, and then who is Henry Jones Sr., and Indiana Jones's real name is Henry Jones Jr. So you do kind of learn that in this movie, that his real name is Henry, and then at the end of the movie you find out the dog was named Indiana. So that's pretty much how Indiana's Jones, like the dog, was his name Indiana. So little thing there. And then Indy says he has fond memories of that dog. So it's kind of the thing where Sala is saying to him, "Why do you call him Junior?" And then his dad's like, "That's his name, Henry Jones Jr." And Indy's like, "I prefer Indiana." And then he says, "We named the dog Indiana." And then Indy says, "I had fond memories of that dog." So that's the thing at the end of the movie when they ride into the sunset. So I pretty much went the beginning and the end. So, I mean, I'll talk about more. And like the main MacGuffin of this movie is the Holy Grail, the Cup of Christ. And then, Indy's dad sends Indy a journal. And then a thing with the prologue going back is you do see how Indy gets the hat sort of thing. So you have that. And then there's a thing, people are looking for the journal that Indy's dad has with Henry Jones Sr. And Indy and Marcus Brody go to Venice, Italy, and they meet Elsa, who later becomes who's with the Nazis, but in the end, she kind of gets a redemption arc, but you do see in the middle of the movie she is with the Nazis, kind of has Indy and his dad captured. So, little thing there. Then when they're in Venice, the one thing I like in the library, because they have to find the numbers, and then they find 10, which is X marks the spot. It's funny when they have to break into the bottom of the thing, they have to break the floor to go underground, and it's kind of funny when they're trying to do that, and then the person with the stamp is looking at his stamp because you hear the noise, nothing. So you do get Indy and Elsa kind of in the sewer sort of thing looking for the tomb. Then they get chased, and there's a thing where Indy and Elsa come out of the sewer, and all the people are it's kind of funny there. Then you have a boat chase thing, and then Indy's saying to the guy, gonna trying to interrogate him, and then where the guy's gonna go in the propeller of the boat, sort of thing, and it's where's my father? And then he'll tell him that he's at this castle in Austria, so they have that, and they go there, once they go to the castle, Indy rescues his dad, then they get captured, and then that's where I bring up where Elsa's kind of the Nazi sympathizer sort of thing, and then it's like Indy plays a trick on the Nazis because they find the pages, because they give the pages to Marcus Brody, and then Marcus Brody kind of gets a head start where he meets Sala, so we have that bit there, and then Marcus gets, off into some van and that. And then there's a bit where we have an escape scene with Indy and his dad in the castle. There's a bit where he says "Dad," and then he's like, "What?" And that's kind of funny. And there's a bit where they're moving around in the thing, and then they go around, and then the thing's on fire and stuff. It's funny when they get the castle. They escape, and there's the funny bit with the boat and stuff, and the Nazis try to chase after the boat, and then Indy and his dad are on some bike, and then they be chased by the Nazis, and after that they go into Berlin, and then you see like the Nazis burning books because they have to recover his journal, and you do have Hitler in this. Like, Hitler isn't the villain, so yeah, but Hitler has a cameo, and then, he signs their journal or something. I'm like, oh, I would erase that if I was them. Like, I wouldn't have Hitler's signature, so that's that there. They manage to recover the book and stuff. They go on a plane, on a blimp to escape Germany. They're being chased by the Nazis, and then Indy disguises himself. He punches one of the Nazis and throws him out the window, and he says to everyone, he didn't have a ticket. And then they have that bit. Then the blimp turns around, and then Indy and his dad get in the little plane. They be chased by the Nazis. And then he's like, "Dad, 11 o'clock." And then he looks at the time, and it's like, he doesn't know the meaning. And then, Indy's dad tries to shoot, and then he accidentally shoots the plane, and then they crash. And then there's a bit where they're being chased, and then there's one where a plane crashes through a cave, and then there's one where Indy's dad gets all the birds on the beach, all the seagulls, and then it flies. Then that plane crashes. So we have that there. And then there's a bit, they'll come across the Nazis in the tank, as they're going to get their way to the Holy Grail and all that. So we have that bit there. And then there's a bit where Indy's on a horse. He manages to screw up one of the guns on the tank, and then they infiltrate the tank. And there's a bit where Indy has a confrontation with the Nazi, and then there's a bit the tank crashes. Then Indy's dad, Henry Jones Sr., Marcus Brody, and Sala think they lose Indy, but Indy manages to escape this crash where the tank crashes. Then they make their way to the Holy Grail, and then there's a bit when they're at the place, Indy's dad gets shot, and then so Indy's dad gets wounded, but Indy sees the knight when he goes to the Holy Grail for the Cup of Christ. And then you have the villain Donovan, who's, you could say, is the main villain, which he kind of, is with the Nazis in this, but he's not German, but he's with them, so we have that bit. And then the knight says, "You must choose wisely." Donovan doesn't choose wisely, but Indy does, so you have that bit there. And then, Indy has that, and there's a bit Indy gets to heal his dad and stuff from the shot, and there's a bit where the cave is gonna collapse. Elsa tries to get the cup, but Elsa falls and dies. Then Indy tries to get it, and then they let go, and then, they'll have the sunset bit, which I mentioned earlier about the thing about, when Sala asks about the junior part, and then, what I said earlier about the name Indiana and all that. So that's the movie. That's like a rundown of the movie. I'd have to say, out of all the Indiana Jones films, I think this one is my favorite, if I had to pick one, just because I love the father and son dynamic with this movie. And I also, love, the journey into going to Indy's backstory and all that, and how he gets the hat and stuff. So I always thought that was pretty cool. I just love the shot where he gets the hat, in his younger self, and then it transitions to present day. So I want to say that there. So that's that. And then, the young Indy's played by River Phoenix, so little thing there. And I'd probably rate this movie a 10 out of 10. And that does it for me in this video. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think down below. Did you like this movie? Did you not like this movie? Were you indifferent? Let me know your thoughts on The Last Crusade down below. Share this video. Tell your friends to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, DanRS87, Instagram, JMD96_YT, Facebook, JamMasterDaniel96, and have a great day.